is New Eden FM, presented by the Data Break Network.
Eden FM, the radio show, your weekly update on all things Eve, and of course, the tunes. Gotta have those tunes. This is Maestra, and somehow I'm in the mix after a very long weekend commanding the dance floor. I swear, this morning I was out so cold I dreamt I was in a Coca-Cola Christmas commercial. That's alright. I'm here. In the studio. Oh, sorry, Rose. Yeah, okay. Anyway, in the studio with me, of course, the original copy. She's assured me she is the original copy. Alondria of the Galaxy. How's it going, sweetheart?
Oh, it's going good. Not only is the original copy of me here, we have a few more of me lurking out. One of me has gone out for tacos, so I do hope she comes back. I often get lost whenever I go out for tacos, so I just had to send somebody out just in case I didn't come back.
Yeah, well, I mean, a if it's a copy of you, then she's not coming back and she's not bringing you back any. Just letting you know that.
Yeah.
hmm
There's a few more of me lurking about, too, probably out assimilating, because the Borg are back, so,
I have heard
you
about
ready?
that. Yeah, I've heard
Mm-hmm.
about this. The Borg are rising again, apparently, in a remote corner of New Eden. And Rose, how are you today, sweetheart?
I'm doing well. I'm doing good. I'm really concerned about this possibly lost Alondria. I mean, do we need to start like banners around New Eden? Missing, I don't know. Might need to
Oh,
get a rally together.
if all else fails, we'll just put out a plate of tacos. She'll show up eventually.
Yeah, just leave a trail of tacos. Piece of candy.
So, on today's episode, New Eden News, the Eve Echoes voice ceremony was last Friday, the capstone of this year's anniversary celebration. More sleeper content for you, requiring dreads and a little bit of tack, and of course your weekly Q&A that's coming up in just a few minutes for you. But right now, in the mix, a little bit more EDM to get your blood pumping. This is I've Been Gone For So Long, the Reorder Extended Mix. Turn it up, check it out.
This is your weekly update on all things Eve Echoes and Eve Online. New Eden News.
This is, in fact, New Eden News. And, I mean, I can't even begin New Eden News without first starting with last week's capstone, right? It's the Void Ceremony. And this had been an event that was essentially, they'd been touting it around. And I'm pretty sure that we got at least 20 different ads on the official Eve Echoes Discord, promoting the Void Ceremony. And I want someone else to kind of talk about this one, because I felt like it wasn't necessarily terrible, but at the same time it wasn't necessarily good either. It kind of felt like we have all these corporations, and it's great, right, that they are getting an opportunity to kind of demonstrate who they are as a corporation, say what they want to the community. They're part of this really cool parade. It's like New Year's Day. And I love how one of them, I forgot which one it was, but one of them literally said that their goal was to destroy the development team in charge of this game. And the only thing the announcer could say was, wow, that's quite ambitious.
Indeed.
Yeah, it was quite ambitious, but I absolutely loved that one. Of course, representing the Brethren Court, Custodes Noir. So, big shout out to my friends in Noir, and you guys look good out there. You know. Also, I believe HTP from No Please Stop, and we have Dragon Viper in the studio at the moment. Hi, Dragon, love you.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I'm in Six Seal, and I believe they had Pale
PHPC,
Horse.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
PHPC was in it as well.
They
So
did, in
our
fact.
alliance was represented as well.
They
Our alliance was in it as well.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone's alliance. I think we had at least one person. SHH had GRA. I think that they might have had 3 corporations that were in there. So congratulations to SHH on that one. That GRA Nightmare is still such a badass looking. With that
Yeah.
nanocore skin, that thing is just absolutely amazing.
Even Myth had a representation because the Necromongers were in it. So
Yeah, yeah. So it was absolutely great, and it was just it was. I'll be honest with you, it was fantastic to see all these people. Even my buddy Kilroy, he and his guys in F Society, they were in it as well. It was just really awesome, and I felt like it was a great event, and the corporations, they just weren't paid that due honor, because it almost felt like going through there sometimes that the people that were like doing the announcing, they weren't even that excited like to be doing it. Like it was, I mean, one of them, didn't one of them say that a Nidhogger was a battleship or something? Like
they called a Nidhogger a nightmare. I
it was a night.
believe. I
Okay.
think I saw a Reddit meme about that.
Or it was a
developers of the game
Naglfar.
was-
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was something. All I know is that I was literally sitting there and going, "Wait, hold on a second. Did you just call that Naglfar a nightmare just because they're both vertical ships?" And
Yeah.
as it turns out, yes, they did. And I that is just really,
I
really
can understand
disappointing.
that though, because also the same
Mistakes
team
happen.
also
But-
mistake a
but
Gila
Dragon-
for a Boa.
But Dragon, are you gonna make that mistake? Are you ever going to say, "Hey, that's a really cool nightmare," when you see a Naglfar? Come on, Dragon. Like, it just. I mean, come on, Dragon.
Oh, you can tell
I mean,
they-
Yeah,
played the game before,
Hey,
of course you
it's
make that
comedy.
mistake.
Yeah, we just had comedy relief. We were doing a CTA during
Man.
the ceremony. I
Like,
have no idea what happened.
but
I spent the parade logging in all of me to get the goodies. So
dude, I mean, but one of the announcers literally called a capital ship a battleship, and like, it. I don't know if that should be taken as comic relief or a testament to just how clueless the developers are about the game that they're actually building or trying to build. But I digress. Aside from that, it was a really cool event. Oh, they misspelled WK. Yeah, I noticed that they did misspell WK. We had 2 corporations from Brethren that were up there, and it was hard to tell because WK was in there and they misspelled them. So I congratulate all the pilots and the corporations that took part in the voice ceremony. If any of you took screenshots while you were in like the festival line and everything, please feel free to post them in the Sound of Us, because sure that more than just me would be interested in checking those out. A few of my guys, my old friends from Axe, who are now a part of the Void Corporation, I believe Geoff sent me a screenshot of their lineup, and it was looking pretty good. So big congratulations to them on that one. And of course, let's move right along to, I believe that the 4th instance of the Dormant Realms opened up on last week. And guess what? If you thought that the previous ones were a little bit rough, this one, yeah, I mean, if you don't have good tech, you are most certainly, unequivocally, going to die. This I can promise you. You are going to die because this is definitely a capital is definitely a capital fleet dormant, and you definitely have to be on top of things, or you are going to lose some dreadnoughts. Um, I was fortunate enough to go in on day one with Wax and Tama, very, very, very talented and skilled pilots when it comes to doing this. They've been at the top of the chart several of the other dormant realms prior to this one. And we sat there for a few hours trying to figure out the best way to clear this. And I can almost tell you that without a carrier, we were EWAR to death. We were tracking disruptor to death. I could not have hit. I could not have hit an elephant if I had been looking through a magnifying glass. With how bad the tracking disruption was down
Yeah, I
there.
think my Naglfar got like 23 tracking disrupts at one point. Yeah, it's intense.
Uh,
Wow.
and warp scrams, dude. Like you, uh, it's just, it's insane. It was absolutely positively insane. And it looks like Marks, I believe it is. Marks is posting a few screenshots, and yeah, these are dormant losses. I mean, you got like almost 60 billion-esque morals there, and a 13.4 billion nightmare that was
That is a
lost down there.
blinged. That is a
Oof.
blinged
That is
nightmare.
a really fat
Yeah.
nightmare, dude. I feel for you guys, but the content is not easy to, and unless you're down there with a really skilled group of people that you trust that are pretty good at figuring things out and know how to like clear warp disruption and stuff like that, so you can get out if you need to. Um, we evacuated at least 3 times while we were trying to figure things out. So to those guys that somehow got it done with 3 capitals and I believe it was 3 caps and an APOC striker, I commend you because I don't know how you did it. We tried that, and it was a train wreck. Only without us losing capitals. But I will digress for a moment. Back to the weekly developer Q&A.
The implants that you get out of it, though, are pretty important. OP,
Well,
I would say.
they're really good. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the first time we cleared the Tech 7 version of it, I believe that I got the Focus Crystal, which is nice to go along with the Impulse Crystal that I've already bought from the store. So, yeah, I mean,
Oh, nice.
yeah, you get the blue Focus Crystal, which is great if you're a laser pilot, such as myself. But I still have to go in and get the Canon one because I'm also a Naglfar pilot, and if I take too long, Mel won't be too happy. Like Daddy Mel's gonna want to bend me over and take the strap to that ass. So
Oh,
yeah, I know, right? Yeah,
Inky.
that's a nice visual.
Kinky.
Thank you.
yeah. I know, right? I was thinking the same thing. Maybe I don't get the core and see if he actually does it.
Oh my goodness. But these implants though, some of them are only available if you have access to the capital version of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that makes it really rough for some of
Welcome
the
in, Mestic,
pilot.
by the way. He is an implant and dormant realm connoisseur, I would say. Knows a lot about them, has been in the top leaderboards. And pretty impressive stuff that he pulls off.
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of these guys are just absolutely amazing when it comes to figuring out like PvP or PvE stuff, and especially on this show, we have a tendency to praise the skills of our PvP pilots, and it's fantastic. But we also have some really great PvE guys that know how to get in there and figure out how to get stuff like Dormant Realms done, and I think that that's worth. It's worth mentioning. It's worth, it's worth praising them for their ability to be able to do these things. Because when you have capitals on the line, you want the best FC in charge, whether it's PvE content or PvP content. And I look at it, and I can't help but be impressed because I went in there, and like I said, Wax is fantastic when it comes to managing dreads and stuff like that, and Tama is one of the best carrier pilots that I've ever seen. But that was some rough content for us, and we had to dip out of the tier 8s a few times. And by the time we were done, I had a doctor's appointment, so I had to go, but we still hadn't figured out how to get past the Tech 8, but there were people that had already gotten past Tech 10, so it's definitely challenging content. I do agree that it sucks that people that aren't capital pilots don't really have a way to get in there and get those. And I mean, a lot of people went capitals on their alts, right? So it's like, you get these crates, and these crates, everything that comes out are pretty much bind on pickup. For those of you that play World of Warcraft or any games like that, you probably know what I'm getting at when I say bind on pickup. But they're pretty much attached to your clone the moment that you pick up the box. So you can't really trade those to someone else if you don't need this implant or whatever. You can't just give it to someone else who does, or you can't just give it to one of your clones that can make better use of it. So it is.
You can reprocess them though, right?
Oh,
And get the materials.
because that's just what I wanted to reprocess.
Yeah, I know it does. It's kind of like heartbreaking to do it, but
Yeah. You'd think that they would make it a little easier for the wider majority of the player base to actually get their hands on these things instead of making everything
Yeah.
bind on pickup.
Messick, how do you get through these higher level dormant realms?
Honestly, it's a lot more straightforward than a lot of people are trying. But it seems that the simpler the strategy, the better it's paying off. For instance, just on a bit, you can just slap difficulty 10 just by throwing a bunch of large group shield boosters on some APOC strikers and just going ham from a nightmare bubble. The capital ones, the E-War is a big deal. The thing that is very important to remember when you're inside of those is that normal aggro rules do apply. So if you have a revelation on grid, everything's hitting the revelation. So that allows you to break off strike cannon Naglfars, burn them backwards on the opposite side of the gate. Revelation goes in, takes all the aggro, and it allows the Naglfars to be pretty much E-War free. Having a carrier does help. It would allow the Naglfar pilots to basically call focus fires, and the carrier can then eliminate the E-War that's specifically on the Nags and allow the damage to stay up. But, I mean, a lot of PvP basics apply, where you're breaking tackle, breaking E-War in order to keep the damage going.
I agree with
And I
you.
think a lot of people are getting hung up on a lot of the E-War side of things. You just move to long-range weapons.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's pretty much how it ended up for us. We had to, but I mean, we had, like I said, we had Tama down there, and Tama's a fantastic carrier pilot, in addition to being a great tackler. And so we never really had to worry about the E-War when he was on grid. But I think a lot of it is that people aren't really super accustomed to dealing with E-War at the extent that they have to deal with them in the dormant realms. Because when you think about it, E-War is a problem when you're out ratting to a small extent, but how often does tracking disruption really affect you if you're out there in a ship with pretty good skills? Like, it doesn't affect us in a way where it's detrimental to the point that you're trying to get the E-War off of you as quickly as possible. It's not the same as like in EVE Online when you are fighting Blackbirds and they have ECM on you and you keep dropping your targets. You want that thing dead as quickly as possible. So I think a lot of it comes from pilots not really having the experience of having to clear tracking disruption. It's not really popular in PvP unless it's like small form PvP, and it's not super detrimental in PvE, to be honest, and just my take on that.
Definitely. I mean, there's also a big difference between having 3 tracking disruptors on you and having 30.
Yeah, I always thought that those things kind of stop stacking after you get to about like maybe 6. But
Yeah. I think the worst I saw was I tried doing pulse lasers in Abyss, and I had 18 tracking disruptors on me, and the optimal range for my pulse lasers on my APOC striker was 7. Yeah, that was fun.
oh dear.
Yeah, we had to slow up the nightmare in between towers.
Yeah, that sounds really horrible.
Yep.
That sounds really, really, really
It's
horrible.
horrifying. Yeah,
That is
it definitely
horrifying.
gives you a moment of weakness, right, where you're just overwhelmed, and it's like everyone just needs to take deep breaths and just focus on what is causing you from not being able to progress. But I do like it because it's finally created some difficult PvE content where people do have to think. And it's not just big brain PvP plays or big brain small room PvP plays where you're coming up with this strat. It is you are going to go in there. Different people are going to receive varying amounts of Evor in each realm, or each room, and it's sorting with the difficulties that are unique for each and every attempt at it and reacting.
Yeah.
I think that creates very, very fun content. It also creates a lot of hostilities between friends.
It also creates a very big isk sink when people are losing their capital ships in there.
Oh, I think I've lost like 2.5 billion in grams on my carrier. I'm
I
trying
was
to
gonna say
figure it out.
fighters. Losing fighters is insane. Yeah.
They do target your fighters, and it's something that I think that was a shock to carrier pilots at first, to actually have stuff that targets your fighters, because I mean that's not really something that's common, right? Having your drones or your fighters targeted. I mean it happens in EVE
Nope.
Online, but in EVE Echoes,
Right.
it's new content.
It's unique here. A strategy that we figured out is when Hibernator waves spawn, the carriers pull back their fighters, and you pull open the overview, sort by vital targets, and you can see the Hibernators.
Yeah.
And if they are red boxing you, those Hibernators will shoot your fighters. So you have the carriers specifically go for the Hibernators that are not being, that are not red boxing them, and then you don't lose the fighters.
Yeah, and that's essentially what we had to do. Only I think the strategy we used, we had the if you're a dreadnought pilot, we ended up marking those so the carrier pilot could see them easier. But it's the same thing, right? I mean, it's pretty much the same tactic no matter who's painting the targets. If you don't take them out in the right order, you are going to lose fighters, and you're talking like 20 to 30 million a pop. Oh no, 50 million a pop. I almost forgot how expensive fighters actually are because I'm a dread pilot. So those things are
Well, that's
Yeah,
good
they're
for
rough.
industry, right?
I was
uh,
about
de-
to say, as a manufacturer of those, this has been a great time for me.
yeah, I
Little bit
bet.
of industrial penetration there to the PvP player base.
Yeah.
I mean, technically, they need a little bit more industrial penetration, right? I mean, when you think about it,
Mhm.
how many people like just go in and they're like, "Oh, holy cow, I just lost this ship." I mean, it's like Latara said. I think that Mug is a prime target for that kind of scrutiny. Sent on a one-to-one each player, showing which ship tonnage is needed. Also, add the option for other pilots to join as spectators while the battle is in progress. And the response to this is the current version of friendly fire mode needs to be modified with more environment changes, after which it would become permanent gameplay for every capsuleer. Spectators are an excellent suggestion, but it's already in the plan for future modes with more participants. So it might work for this mode as well. Share a share to chat option will be implemented in more crowd battles. So essentially, maybe I guess I, I'm guessing based off of this for bigger battles like 5 versus 5 or something. Yeah, but probably not for the smaller ones.
Be entertaining though, whenever they make it actually permanent.
I mean, people are going to start setting up betting rings. You heard it here first, folks. Wow.
I'm sure that'll happen. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure.
People are
Oh,
setting
yeah.
up betting rings. I would do it. Okay. Second question: would you consider adding the trade channel? There's too many people spamming help channel in local with trade. Maybe also adding a corp recruitment channel. That would be helpful too. So the answer to this is adding the trade channel will not reduce trading infos, and frauds. We're more inclined to capsuleers reporting these behaviors, and then we will take strict action against them. The Help channel is a place where corporations can post recruitment info. There is no plan to add another channel for the time being. In addition, capsuleers can also create their own channel so that they can manage the people who join and directly take action against those who post trade infos and fraud. Now, I'll be honest with you. The reason why that this is moderated in EVE Online, and I know that that becomes a dirty word sometimes, making references to EVE Online here, but the reason why it's moderated is because there's an actual moderation team. People who are in the game, who are watching chat, who are able to ban people that do stuff. So, yeah, okay. You might want to consider getting more members of your community involved in this. Because if you don't, guess what happens? You're going to have the Wild West, which is what we have in the Help channel right now. Whatever. Next question. The new Ego Transfers event is ace. Just one little improvement I could suggest on it. Would it be possible to remember the module layout at the bottom right of the screen? It causes real problems in battle when I need to rearrange my modules, regroup my weapons, and get everything onto one page because the game cannot remember how I laid out the buttons. It did the same in DIR Reflections, and it's now doing the same thing in Ego Traverse. It would be great if it used the same layout that I have set up when using the ship normally. Response is, it's a valuable suggestion and we are already planning to implement it in future modes as part of further optimization. Ego Transverse mode will also be updated with it. Thank you. Okay, great. Question 4. In chat, when someone pings a system, our only option at the moment is to set as destination. Could we maybe have a show on map as well? I'm often busy doing other stuff with bookmarked destinations already up, and the system ping might not be relevant. Adding the show option allows me to better decide if I need to take action without losing my current destination. Cheers. And the response to this is, thanks for your suggestion. We will add a view in star map feature to the bookmarks in the chat channel. At the same time, simulated navigation will be added to the star map to avoid interruption in the current navigation. So I admit that would be a change that would be very nice, especially when you're doing like fleet command stuff and you need to check destinations on a map. Check route info without having to completely erase your route, and it's just really nice during roams. And like someone suggested some time ago, having waypoints in the game would be a great thing as well. But sadly, that would basically mean that they're giving us the tools to control our autopilots, and all I can say is good luck to that. But yeah, I don't know what else to say, right?
I mean, I think having the simulated navigation on autopilot, like you were saying, for roams, like as a front tackle on roams, if I had the ability to have a desto and then pick and choose different routes and see the way that it's going to take me through pockets as I'm also continuing on my destination, that would be the greatest thing ever. So whoever on the dev team is like, yeah, we're going to make that happen, I want to buy that guy a beer.
I mean, yeah, if they make that happen, it would be excellent. It would be absolutely excellent. There are little quality of life improvements that I think could have reached this game a long time by now if they weren't so under the influence of, well, if we don't keep on adding like actual content, what they consider to be content, dropping in new ships and adding in all these other things, that people are just going to leave. No, I think sometimes quality of life improvements would be fantastic to have them, such as having focus bars, so that you could set your fleet commanders, your guardians and stuff into a focus bar, so you don't have to keep them locked just so you don't lose track of them during a large PvP battle. Or like this person is saying, having a way where you can check systems and mark systems and stuff without having to clear your autopilot routes and things like that. These are all things that people could really benefit from. And of course, it's been a while. We don't know when we're going to get the next line of capital ships and stuff. And of course, I'm not one of those people who would who would applaud them dropping in more capital ships and less quality of life changes. But for the love of God, please just put force auxiliaries in the game. You've already said you have the technology to do it. Capital battles are basically just going to be nothing but like these massive battles of attrition where people are just, kind of like it's basically people are going to lose capital ships, and it's really just going to be dependent upon on the nature of what's your skill level and how much does the other team know you. Because I can tell you right now, someone like Mel is going to get focus fired off grid almost immediately with no hope of salvation because we really don't have the logic to support these battles. So, I never be a person. You typically don't hear me saying, "Oh yeah, we need more capital ships. We don't need Titans. We just need force auxiliaries in the game to support what's about to happen." So here's hoping, right?
Yeah, I'm also pretty nervous about the drastic rise in dreadnoughts that are appearing all over New Eden with certain implants. I mean, I saw an autocannon Nagelfar at 48,000 DPS with the barrage implant up.
Mm-hmm.
It's just excessive, And I mean, beyond that, I know that a lot of people, Burr, I know is one of them, looks at the Revelation as a slightly dirty dreadnought. It's not something that's used, but when you have a dreadnought fight and it's happening on grid, and you have the focused implant, once you get the focused implant to level 20, you can go up to 50% bonus DPS, and we're having tank revelations in test fits at 22,000 DPS, just solid full tank fit.
I absolutely love it. I love it. And by the way, I just want to go on record as saying that the Revelation is probably my favorite capital ship as far as dreadnoughts are concerned. And the only reason why I don't have one is because Daddy Mel said that I had to fly a Nagelfar to be in the fleet. So, so,
Yep.
so I don't have one, but I wanted one, right? I was skilling into lasers, and then the Doctrine decided to call for Nagelfars instead. So that's what ended up being my thing. But I'm a laser pilot myself. I very much enjoy my laser ships. I have both the Impulse Crystal and I did buy the Impulse Crystal. Like I bought it off the store, the purple one. And then I earned the Focus Crystal. So believe me when I tell you, I'm all for those bonuses and the benefits you get from the laser implants. I think they're great. But right now it's just a little hard to kind of squeeze your laser ships into the fleet because you already know. I mean, do we have Revelations in our fleet? Yeah, we do. But they're not exactly. I mean, if they pop, I mean, you're pretty much on your own, right? I mean, the
Right.
Alliance is not going to give you one. They're going to give you a Nagelfar or something, and you're pretty screwed. So. I mean, I agree with you. The revelations are becoming really amazing, especially with these new implants and stuff like that. But it's going to depend on how, I guess, the meta goes. So, we'll see, right? And I
Yeah.
think that.
I mean, also on the other end, for your guys' doctrine, I know you guys have a very, 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 very scary rogue fleet. And the damage that you can get popping off on some of these high power coils on that railgun implant is absurd. Absolutely absurd. The alpha damage goes up, and the variation that the implants is bringing to doctrine fleets and what it will allow a doctrine fleet to do in calculated periods of time. I think that a lot of people are saying, oh, well, the implants are going to ruin this and blah, 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 because everyone's just going to be really OP. I don't think everyone's going to be really OP. I think that the people that are going to be calculated and take this new addition to New Eden and apply it properly are going to fly head and shoulders above other people. So I'm excited to see the way that it diversifies great pilots and great FCs above just rabble blobs.
I agree with you. To an extent, I completely think that that the implant system, it's good. You know what I mean? It's not like it was ever bad. It's not like I sat there and and I thought like standing on my soapbox that well this is objectively bad. They should have just done it like EO. I think that it was not a bad move. I just feel that it probably could have been a little bit more widely available. That way, people wouldn't have to say, "Well, this person has a competitive advantage because they paid for this or they did that," and that's the only thing I'm more or less concerned about. But I guess that's a topic for Eve Talk, right?
Yeah.
Right now, I think this one is literally for the dev team. I would imagine, because they don't seem to really know how to do it themselves. How to save a life. Welcome to New Eden FM.
You're tuned into New Eden.
Eve Talk, everyone. And I think that at this point, what else is there to talk about except for this extremely difficult PvE content in these sleeper cells, and of course these implants that, well, I'm feeling a little bit of controversy here. Maybe Dragon, you could explain that one a little bit better than I could, but it's like you have there's the left side that believes that the implants are great. They can do no wrong. They're it's perfect. It's balanced. It worked fine. Then you have the people on the other side that thinks that everyone has a competitive advantage now, and then you have these people that are in the middle that just kind of sit on the couch with popcorn and observes as this whole thing is just going on.
Because they are very. Back of the day, is they are very powerful. They have very strong implants that all provide different ways of being OP. And in a way, it kind of balances itself out. If you just look at one implant in particular, it can seem OP if that's the only one on grid. But then you have all these contrasting different groups that add together, and it gets kind of crazy. Between forcing people to unlock their targets, to rapid amount of DPS, being able to apply webs with cannons. I'd love to see a gigantic brawl with all these in play.
I mean, yeah, I do agree with you on that one. Um, I think it's great. I think that the system is fantastic, especially for those that want a little bit more customization in what we're doing. Um, I feel kind of bad for the people who I guess aren't battleship pilots and who might not have like $50 that they can spend to get it, which is the general point of controversy. Like, I think even though implants shouldn't be something that everyone should have for like no work or anything, right? I'm not saying that. I do believe that it probably should have been a little bit more. I mean, if they were going to be as powerful as they are, maybe make it so that it's a little bit more open to all Tech 10 players. Uh, Possibly a few Tech 9s, maybe, but a little bit more, a few more options, people to be able to do it. Um,
Yeah.
Battleships only. I mean, that's kind of okay, fine, but content that only capitals can do. This I have mixed feelings about because I'm a capital ship pilot myself. My sister is a capital ship pilot. We're fine, you know what I mean. But there are people that cannot do this content, and so it's like, okay, well, one of them we can run you through. It's not a problem, but the other one, dude, we're not. To my understanding, we're not running anyone through that final one right now. We're just not able to do it yet.
Yeah, just it locks so many people out of the content for the game. It's in my opinion, it's a little bit of a bad design. There should have been more access to the overall player base with work, of course. I mean, it should definitely be something that is earned, but it should be something that they gave more of the player base opportunity to earn, because you've got all these bind on pickup things that can't exactly trade around and things like that. So you've got to physically be present, and it's just not physically possible for a majority of the player base to physically be present.
Yeah, and it goes back to the thing I was saying earlier. I'm not sure uh, if it's as common as it is in Burr in like no, but most of our capital ship pilots are our capital ship pilots on different accounts. So their main accounts are not even capital ship pilots because it's such a huge skill point investment. Their alt accounts are capital ship pilots and they can do the content, but it's like, okay, so the only option I have for my main is to just like, spend money and buy them, right?
Yeah, it's not a good system. It's very much pay to win.
It is. It does seem like a very pay to win at the moment, especially with how they don't allow you to grind the event. Um, I can kind of say it is really high end level content, especially being restricted to only battleships. I can see that.
I mean, some of it is restricted only to capital ships, so you can't even take a battleship in there. You'd pop like a balloon.
Hmm. Yeah, you do.
I think someone like
I mean,
lost a
somebody
nightmare
shared
trying to do that
what
shit.
was it, a 14.3 some odd billion nightmare
Mm-hmm.
kill mill from
Yep.
that content, and that thing was blinged out, and it
Mm-hmm.
still died.
I hope it was insured.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, the capital ship that I think died with it. That probably tells you something.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it wouldn't be so bad, like at all. But capital ships are quite an ISK sink. So I kind of wish that, from that design standpoint, it was kind of like, okay, ouch. You know what I mean? Like, ouch. Um, I don't think that it's necessarily terrible that there is more difficult content, and I think that at the end of the day, okay, so you can just you get the implants, and then you can do the easier ones. You can do the easier ones, and that will give you what you need to actually level the implants once you own them. So it isn't like it's all lost, right? It's not all lost. It all isn't lost. It's just that you have to get them in the first place. Or you wait for people to grind out the content and then you build them. You try to reverse engineer them. Um, I don't know about you guys, but I haven't heard of anyone in Burr actually reverse engineering these things yet. Um, I don't know the validity of being able to reverse engineer them just yet. If someone else knows people that have reverse engineered them, please let me know. But I mean that's
Heard of
kind of
like one or two people that have managed to do it. There are the low tier ones, not the high
okay.
tier.
Okay, so it's been done. Yeah, so it's been done, and I don't know if it actually solves the problem. I don't know if that alone solves the problem. Either way, I mean, I very much
Well, I guess
enjoy
I thought, is
my.
it a problem
That
for
depends.
these high end, really powerful implants to be locked behind you having to be, Tech 9, Tech 10, really long standing players?
I mean, technically speaking, you can be Tech 1 and have one. You just spend the money to get it. That's it.
You can put in the money or you can put in the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's how the game's always worked.
Uh either way. Um I guess that the people that are like complaining about it are gonna continue to complain about it. But I think that the only thing that we all should unanimously be complaining about is I I I, I am wondering how much the devs actually understand about what they're doing at this point. Um with the implants, it's okay, fine. Like they can make their money, they can do whatever. What I don't care. The content is really hard. That's fine. It's great. But like I said, during the parade, that was kind of ouch. You know what I mean? Um, this is the second year that we've done Eve Online's anniversary. The first year they did the same thing. They gave us codes, and they had the same problem the same problem with their website that they had this year, last year. And it's like there was no, like, you mean no one actually sat there and thought, hey guys, maybe we should actually fix this for this year. It was the exact same thing. It was a shit show last year when they were giving out the codes, and I felt really bad for the people that are sitting there and they've got to announce through this. They're like, "Oh yeah, just keep on trying, guys. Just keep on trying," and eventually they had to say, "Well, the network is congested, and that's the reason why it's not working." It's like, geez, guys, I feel bad for your host right now. Um,
I feel I don't think that they were paying for a very high quality service because I mean the live stream on YouTube had a few thousand people, and if a few thousand people can crash your site, then the site wasn't very well managed.
yeah, yeah, and that was the problem. It's been happening since last year when we had the anniversary event. They gave away codes and it didn't work. And and this year they did the same thing. It was the exact same thing. They didn't try to fix it. They didn't try to optimize it. They knew what was going to happen, and it was like, you sent your guys. Did you really just send your host up there? And you had them get up there and say we're going to give out codes and stuff like that, and they're giving out codes, and no one can actually input the codes. Like,
Yeah, well,
jeez.
Android people could because in Android you can actually input it in the game. Why you can't do that on the iPhone devices, I do not understand.
Silence heretic. I don't really understand that either. With the Android versus the iPhone thing, it really is starting to become like a
I
head
think it's
scratcher to
something
me.
to do with the App Store.
Um, Possibly, but the redeem codes work on both Android and iPhone for Warhammer 40K Lost Crusade.
Yeah, I think it can be done. I think that they just didn't put in some paperwork or something like that, or the dev team dropped the ball or something. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but you would think with as much problems as they have keeping their website running, they would want players to be able to access the codes, and so do what they did for Android and stick the ability to do it in game. Their problem is suddenly solved. They don't actually have to pay for more web resources like they actually really need to.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit painful to be honest. And generally speaking, I really just prefer to look at the content that the people are creating in the game. Like last week, we had Durkadur on the show, and Equinox is still doing pretty well. He got more people on the server from just getting to come on to the show, and so now more investors. It's great. Uh, but look at how that had to take root. It had to take form because this is something the market. Well, the market in Eve doesn't exist, right? Not in the way that it should. Sorry, Mirage. Okay. But Durkadur created this system. Even right now, I believe that Burr is in the process of creating some content for all of us who would like to have a little bit more PvP content. Dragon, you're probably in the know about the content that is being created. So, um, but it's the players are basically being left to try to fill this weird vacuum that has been, I guess, kind of left because, well, the I don't know. It's hard to say whether it is willingly dropping the ball or if it's just if it's. I don't really get the plan at this point.
Yeah. Well, you kind of hope that there's a plan. I mean, you hope that there's one, right?
Well, I mean, for the sake of the communities in the game, I hope there's one, right? that
Yeah.
could that could turn really bad if there's generally, no long-term plan. And um, like I said, with the sleeper event, wow, my grasp of the English language today. With the sleeper event, I think that I think that was good content. I thought it was a good call. I um I
Yeah,
feel that it's a little bit, it's a little tedious, but do I think it was a
well,
good
yeah, I
call?
mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
they added this sleeper event. They did do a lot of things. I mean, if
Yes.
you're a low sec, high sec person, they put in mission for you to do. If you're null sec, there were the special anomalies, and obviously if you're null sec, you probably got better ships, so you've got the dormant realm and everything else like that they've added in with this. I mean, they really, I think that they really did good for once as far as the amount of content and the engaging of the content if you're able to participate in it. But again, I think they really could have done better with the higher end content, not locking it so far behind a paywall.
Yeah, and I'm actually taking a look at what Mezik said, and he posted this in studio only chat. I really wish that he had dropped this in the Sound of Us. What he said concerning the question on the iOS app, it's the way that iOS works as an operating system, security through something called OS compartmentalization, which is why you have to build iPhone apps through an app building kit rather than being able to code the game from the ground up. Boring topic, but I thought that I would share that. Well, I mean, I'm not a computer programmer. I'm glad that someone else knows the reason why they can't do that. But apparently, um, I'm not sure if I should just take it that what Masick is saying is that they're lazy, but that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Either way, I don't know. I don't know how else to what else to add to that. The content is great, and I encourage people to go out and do the content. But at the same
Yeah.
time, most of the content is player driven. Did they do a good job with the sleeper event? Yes. Should it have been more inclusive to people? Yeah, probably. Dragon Viper, I gotta ask you, have you actually gotten one of these implants yet? Like, are you actually using this? Because I'd imagine you'd probably want like the ones for the arbitrator.
He is actually engaged in combat at the
Oh
moment, and
crap! I almost
so
forget that some of us are actually engaged in combat at the moment.
yes,
All right.
so she will be back with us whenever she gets done slaughtering.
Cheese. Cheese. I admit, I kind of, if I could, like, run a roam or run a CTA while I was doing the show, I would totally do it. I'm just saying. But,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I think we're a little bit too involved, and maybe I'll select a location for a show in Losec. We can have a little bit of fun during the show.
yeah, I mean, you guys could always go to Tama and shoot each other, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, we could do a show live from Tama. Maybe do a little competition for a prize. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll see what I can work out.
let's do it.
If
Let's
anybody
do it.
has any suggestions, feel free to hit me up in a DM.
There you go. And in the meantime, this track, this is like classic 90s. Watch My Shoes. You've heard this one, right, Alondria?
Probably.
Probably. All right, turn it up, check it out for those of you that haven't. For Eve Talk, and back in the studio with us is Masick. So thanks for joining us. You actually had a lot of things to say concerning how the implants are working in retrospect at the moment. During the news segment, we covered a little bit about that, and you just posted a picture of your APOC striker in the Sound of Us. Oh, that's a pretty sexy sniper you got right there.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's with the focused laser implant. The stacking bonus stays for the entirety of an anom as long as you don't miss. As long as you just stack all of your guns, which I know this is heresy for ratting. You just stack all of the lasers all on top of each other, and then the chances of you missing all 8 of the lasers going off at once is basically nothing as long as you're doing a good job of toggling off your siege mode, and you just keep the damage ramping. So I'm pulling about 36 mil ticks and T10 noms, just with that ramped up, and that's only at level 20. I just got the basic one that I got for clearing Imprison and Silence, and I just got it up to level 20 just so I could slap 3 general units on it, and it just goes off. I think there's a lot of utility for PvE on a lot of these. I think that one of the biggest complaints I've heard is there's a lot of railgun pilots, and they're all looking at their implants and they're saying, "I can't use this when I'm ratting," because the high power coil, people are burning through that. They're using like 4% of the implant charge in a single anomaly,
Wait.
just using it over.
But the implant for the implant for that specific railgun implant, doesn't that have to be managed where people turn it off when it starts to get too hot so it doesn't overheat and completely
So
kill the
that's the
damage?
thermal circulation.
Okay, it's the other one. Got it.
And the thermal circulation is rough because you do have to manage your guns. The best way that someone explained it was they're just putting their railguns in 4 stacks of 2, and they're just cycling them as they can, and they're just trying to hover around 80-85% heat. But it's a lot of micro versus the focused laser crystal. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to activate it. It just starts simply stacking damage the moment that you start landing shots.
Yeah,
For 8
I haven't
lasers,
tried
it's
it yet.
4% additional damage a cycle.
Wow, I haven't tried it. I've been using my impulse crystal. That's the one that I bought, so I already have it in purple. And of course, that one, technically the DPS starts really high and it goes down as the battle progresses if you don't do good cap management, because everything is based on capacitor, and I think that I think it's kind of cool that there's an inverse with the impulse one. I have it. We earned it when we did the dormant realm, but I haven't actually tested it yet, so I don't know. But that
Yeah,
sounds pretty. It sounds pretty awesome. I may as well just like pull my Apex Striker out of the shed and try just like shooting some stuff. Maybe pull my Balgorn out and switch over to that one and just shoot stuff, right? And see how
yeah.
it works out. But stacking guns does seem like the best way to go for that one.
Yeah, definitely stack them so you don't have any misses. It did do something incredible to my Balgorn in Title Walk, where it took, uh, myself included, everyone was just like, yeah, I'm not taking you through anything higher than like a difficulty 7 Title Walk if you have a Balgorn. Like, just bring a Vindicator or a Macarial because the Balgorn's just not going to cut it. Like, I don't want to be here all day. And by managing my webs and turning off my guns, waiting until I'm slowing a target down, and then firing again, it has turned my Balgorn into out-damaging Vindicators Title Lock. That was pretty wild, especially now that they're giving the screens and it shows through the top damages, and it's just very apparent. But a Balgorn does really well with the Pulse Laser Crystal just because of the ability to overnos and keep the cap up. And so
Yeah.
I've seen a couple fits that people are building ratting Balgorns around with the Pulse Crystal
Hmm.
and running 2 webs and 3 nosses and just keeping themselves topped up the entire time. And that's getting really consistent numbers.
Well, it has to be 2 webs and 3 Gnosis because it has 5 mid slots.
Oh, yeah, 2 webs, 3 nosses. Yep.
Yeah. It's the same configuration I run on my Balgorn. And it does pretty good. And I've actually taken a little bit of time, work on my laser skills because I didn't have perfect laser skills when the implant first came out. But it's been so much fun to just like get in there and do stuff with it and my Apex Striker that it's like, okay, maybe I can sit here and I can play around with it a little bit more and have some fun with it. And yeah, the Balgorns do exceptionally well. All the Blood Raider ships do exceptionally well with the Impulse Crystal because they can manage their caps a little bit better. But for an Apox Striker, I found that you are going to need like 2 batteries in order to maintain what you're trying to do and do pretty
Yep.
good damage. That was my experience working with those. I have the railgun, the coil one, but I'm not a railgun pilot. I have no railgun skills, so it's like okay, well I can't answer for that one, and I don't think that I have. I've only talked to a few carrier pilots that have the bombard mode, and they said they're basically one-shotting people that come near them.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I got
it's
the bombard for my carrier, and it is very nice.
oof. Well,
It's very, very
I mean,
nice.
it's a PvP core, right? I mean, you're
Oh
unless
yeah,
you're at zero in an ANOM, you're not really using that for PvE. Like,
no, no. Although it has done wonders in the carrier or the capital ship dormant realms in between for hibernators. You can just blow up hibernators. Absolutely just shred them, which is very nice for just getting them off grid and then moving on to the next target without the risk on hitting your fighters. But I think the bombard mode, the biggest thing about it for a carrier pilot is at level 15 with the adjustment of getting 50% light velocity bonus or 100% extra health on the fighters. That makes a very large difference when it comes to like if you're hitting a rally point from 250 out,
yeah,
just some extra speed getting them in. But the extra 100% health inside of dormant realms has made a very big difference.
yeah. So I have to ask this question because obviously I'm not a drone pilot, but have you tested out the electronic warfare one, which it's basically a take from Eve Online
Yes,
Warf.
EDCM.
It's basically
Yep.
from it's from Eve Online. It's just we didn't get those support drones that we have over there. So I admit, both myself and Amy, we were like curious as to how that's working out for some pilots.
I have the automatic defense implant. I actually was very fortunate and lucky. I opened up the basic automatic defense implant from the box. It popped out of clearing one of the dormant realms. And I immediately said, okay, next realm, I'm tackling an RV Hector. Let me at it. It is awesome.
Okay,
It was incredible.
so it's actually
You
pretty
make
cool.
contact with something, you're going to get into your orbit, a Vindicator or a Balgor or something like that when you warp it on zero, might catch you inside of those webs. You lock them, wait until you're count to your 5 seconds that you're roughly guessing, and then you activate it. And I have had 100% success rate even with the thing being at level 5 of it making someone unlock me. It's really strong.
Jeez. Yeah, ECM is impressive, and you know what kind of makes me mad about that whole situation is not the fact that we have that in the game, it's the fact that they literally, when the game first dropped, they nerfed the Blackbird. They took away its ECM and saying we weren't going to put ECM in the game, and then they turn around and do this. That pissed me off. Like they said that there's no ECM in the game, and they took it away. That ship was released, and it had the attribute for electronic countermeasures because that's the scripting from Eve Online. And so I'm like, when everyone else is flying Caracals, I was flying a Blackbird. Remember when there was like this massive swath of Caracal always around the Jita Gate? Not sure if
Oh
you
yeah.
played the game when it first dropped,
Yep.
but there used to be like a big swarm of Caracal, like just sitting on the gate waiting to get in the Jita because at the time people
Yep.
couldn't go in because Jita was full. So you had to wait in the queue outside the gate to get into Jita, and there was like a big mob of like Caracal um in outside the gate, and I'm the only Blackbird, the only person flying around a Blackbird. And the reason why I was like that was because I liked the Blackbird. I liked what it did in Eve Online, and I'm like, cool, I like the Blackbird. So I'm in my Blackbird and I'm like, well, if they drop ECM, then it'll be fun. Like I'm already working on skilling and stuff in the Blackbird, and oh my gosh, these people broke my heart when they dropped Blackbirds into the game in the condition that they were in, and then they nerfed the arbitrator to give Blackbirds like, you know, missiles, and I'm like, or missile deterrence, and I complained about that, and I complained about what they did to the Scorpion, and everyone was like, well, I mean, you can't expect it to be just like Eve Online, and I'm like, yeah, that's true, but this is a really shitty change. you know? And they basically said, well,
Yeah.
we're going to remove it because there is no ECM in the game. Then they turn around and they put ECM in the game. I'm like, guys, all you're doing is proving that you're jerks because you could have done this like 2 years ago. It was always in the game. You just didn't want to put it in the game. You just didn't want to put it in the game.
Yeah, I don't call it a paywall, but it's almost a grind wall where there are now certain capabilities where you have to dedicate a large amount of time in one way, shape, or form, unless you just simply pay out a wallet in order to achieve some of these things, which does suck. I think that the price tag that they put on getting a basic implant at 4 billion ISK also was very rude.
Yeah, that
That
is.
you could have gotten away with 500 mil, a billion, or something like that. But when you're talking about someone who exists primarily in low and high sec, which is a majority of the player base of Eve Echoes,
True. At this point, it
and
is.
you're asking them to pay 4 billion ISK. I mean, like for us that are out here in nullsec, sure, right? Like 4 billion ISK, I got to focus for a week or two. For someone living in high sec, they look at 4 billion ISK, and it's like they just spent 6 months saving them that up and got themselves into a vindicator and are so happy. And now to achieve, they have an implant, they have to obtain that same amount of money again. I don't like that.
I mean, I find that is bad, that is wrong. I do think that it's terrible, but at the same time, let's be fair. There really isn't anything stopping these people from joining a nullsec group.
That is true.
I'm
That is
like,
true.
I completely agree with your logic and how you're saying how that part sucks. But at the same time, every time you go down in security level, it's basically risk versus reward. And so if you're choosing to stay in high sec, you don't want to go anywhere below zero point 0.5 space, well then you're not going to get very good rewards by playing the game. The core of the game, the meat of the game, is in nullsec, where there is more danger, where you have to worry about pirates, where you have to, band together with other players and do things. Eve is not a game for solo players. I mean, people do it sometimes, but it's really not a game for solo players. And so, I mean, I find it hard to justify high sec players and low sec players. I mean, when you think about it, a lot of them have found ways through Tech 10 story missions and stuff like that to make billions and billions of ISK. There was a time where you could go out in an APOC striker and make more money doing storylines and stuff like that than you could make riding in nullsec, and people were considering doing that. I had a few people in my nullsec group who took APOC strikers out to high sec, and they set in high sec and they make money. Latara isn't here today, and they make money in high sec, a good amount of money in high sec. So it's really kind of like a risk versus rewards, and the rewards for doing stuff in high sec is pretty good. However, I agree that the implants are very expensive. Similarly, you can also think about it this way, right? The nice thing about it being instance is that you can really do this from any NPC station, any player-owned station. You can get into dormant as long as everyone is docked, you're fine. So you can literally team up and you can do this content with anyone. The only thing is for Care Bears, well, who don't own capital ships because they live in high sec. Well, I mean, you can't bring capital ships into high sec in any EVE universe, right? So there is a bit of balance going on there. But I do think that the imbalance comes in when people can either choose to, well, let's see, I gotta grind for like 6 months to do this, or I can just spend like $50 and I can get it anyway. I mean, when you think about it, like for most of us that work fairly consistently or whatever, $50 is not that bad. I'm not saying that it's good for everyone. I'm a person who had it really rough during COVID-19, especially being that I'm a DJ professionally, and that's what I do. You can imagine how money was for me during COVID. But what I'm saying is that it's kind of like you can grind for hours or you can spend $50, which I mean for a lot of people is maybe even for someone who's working minimum wage in the United States, it's probably somewhere around, 5 hours of work. Um, if you include taxes, maybe one full work day. Um, and I guess that's how they're looking at it. It's like it's the paywall is the easier way. And I'm not trying to sound terrible when I say that, but from a time efficiency standpoint, I'd rather go to work and make money and just put a little bit of money on the side and do it than grind for it in the game, because grinding for it in the game is a pain in the ass.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think it also it's pretty rough. That I'm pretty sure the drop chance to get like the advanced implants, like the purple and the orange ones, I'm pretty sure that those are abysmal. I've seen some people saying, myself included, getting the basic implants. I've yet to see anybody pull a purple or an orange implant out. And I do have to say, excuse me, that getting the tease of being able to have my focus laser implant go up to 25 or 29. I haven't seen what the level cap is yet, trying to push it up. And seeing that the different skills that are unlocking under 30, that paywall looks very appetizing to be able to achieve that next level of passives. Very appetizing.
Yeah.
I'm very strongly considering it just because of the spikes that it gives. But yeah, I mean, I completely see your point. I mean, and people say this all the time. It's like, well, I could spend 8 hours of my life doing this, or I could just, go to work. I mean, there was some, I forget where I heard it. It was late. Someone was just like, yeah, these implants came out. I haven't driven for Uber in a couple of years, but I just drove for Uber for a day and then I bought an implant.
I'll be honest with you, but that's the thing, right? Like the implants, if you're trying to earn them in the game, you're not looking at, a one shift of work or whatever. You're looking at easily what could be a week after week after week after week grind. Maybe 2 months from now, maybe you'll finally get one. You'll get lucky, or maybe you'll have the materials to reverse engineer one. And I mean, I guess hope to God that you get lucky, right? When you're reverse engineering and stuff. Meanwhile, you can also work for like a single day, or maybe heck, if you have a really really horrible job and you're on a very very tight budget, which a lot of people that play this are, you can go to work for like possibly a week, and you can have it anyway without all that shit. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's painful. You know what I mean? It's really
Yeah,
painful. And then I have members of my corporation who literally spending money in the game is not an option for them at all.
right.
They can't.
Yeah.
I have people who cannot, like, and it isn't the idea that, well, they're just choosing not to do it. No, the option doesn't really exist for some people. You know what I mean? Benzi has talked about his situation before openly, and why the option to just pay with real life money isn't really there for him. And so it just it's
It's
kind of bad.
it's it's a
Yeah.
messy, slippery slope
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. It's also
I'm
why I'm
hoping
hoping
that
they
they adjust the
release.
drop rates.
I wish they just like put gifting in the
That's
game. I like for some of my best
yeah,
pilots and for some of the people who tune into the show every week, I would gladly spend some money and say, "Here you go, guys. I'm putting this. This is going to be the reward for this week. If you can get this thing done, you get this. You get your choice of whichever implant you want." I would love to give away one, but NetEase, man, you know what I mean? It's like it's not that it's
yeah.
like it's not that
Yeah.
people won't spend the money. It's just like, dude, I made a request. Like, I actually asked you guys, please put a gifting system. I mean, you love your store so much, just put a gifting system in. I mean, I'd love to give people who listen to the show every week, rewards for doing so. Like, give them free Omega, give them, implants, buy stuff for them that they can only buy in like AUR or whatever. I don't care, I'll do it. It's fine. But like, they don't even want to put a gifting system in the game. It's like they are incensed with trying to squeeze money out of pilots that can't actually pay it. Meanwhile, some of us who don't mind paying it are like, dude, just put a gifting system in the game. I'll buy it for my pilots. I mean, it was the same thing for CEOs who registered their corporation for the voice ceremony, right? They bought a spot for their corporation, and some of them didn't even get in. They just got AUR back.
Right.
So, like, what's the big deal? Just drop it in the store. I mean, like, I have really good pilots, people that I respect heavily, who can't do it, and I would be more than happy to do it for them, just to say I appreciate you. But we can't do that because the I don't know why. I don't know why.
I'm hoping that that they're going to try to feel out the falling off of the whaling, and that they will, and especially because you can only buy these implants in the store for X number of more days. I'm hoping that after that is done, that in true microtransaction fashion, that they increase the drop rate on the materials to make the implants.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I really hope.
the one thing it, it's a good hope, but at the same time, I am concerned that well, let's be honest with ourselves, right? We have been waiting for a while for them to release um, capital nanocores that don't come from whale events, just purple cores that our capital pilots can earn without having to spend like $1,000, and they still haven't done that yet.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'd like to see NCO cores for capital ships dropped inside of the LP store, which would give a huge boost to the populace that play faction war games, and B, create a farmable content for people to achieve that. I know personally, I got a Nidhogger actually just in time for Law of the Deep to come out. I was very happy about that. And I went and I looked at, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to slap a nano core on this thing. And I can't even find a Nidhogger core for someone to sell me, like one of the Great Sunsets. No one even sell me one. I'm like, no, I'm using it. Nah, I don't want to sell it. I had one guy quote me. He was like, yeah, 45 bill. I was like, you're crazy. You're a crazy person. And like that, and those cores only came out, well, I think one time, and I was on an 8-month hiatus from the game at that point. Just, I mean, but yeah, we could sit over here and complain about our capital ship problems, right? But I think that just in general, I mean, going back to even talking about how these urban realms are pretty much locked behind faction battleships, T10 battleships, and capital ships. I get the complaint that there isn't enough stuff for smaller people, and it's hard for the little guy in order to get out ahead. But these are implants. At the end of the day, are power spikes on top of being in a top tier ship. They should be difficult to obtain, and I'm not necessarily against. I'm never a fan of microtransactions and paywalls. I hate them. I really do. I wish that it was back in the day, and I'm playing Final Fantasy 11, and if I want to go get my Masamune, I'm hanging out in Abyssey, and I'm going and I'm farming that stupid little fairy for 40 times to get my crystals.
That
right?
was one of the biggest grinds in the MMO industry, Final Fantasy 11.
I do have to say, I did
Fantasy
achieve my Imperium weapon. I did achieve my Masamune for my samurai, and it was one of the best moments of my life.
Dude,
Throw that out there.
I remember just being out there in the dunes. I think that you had to farm to get, what was it? Was it the earring? I think it was the Dodge earring or whatever.
Yep.
I was out there, dude. I remember camping that thing for 3 days straight. It was the summer. I remember camping, killing those damn Damsel flies. Killing
Yep.
Damsel flies to spawn the Valkyrie Emperor. And I remember grinding that thing. I was literally out there. I did not log off for 3 or 4 days straight while I looked for that Emperor's hairpin. That's what it was. It was
Empress hairpin.
while I look for that doggone hairpin. Everything in that game was a colossal grind. And like people talk about how Eve is your second life. No, Final Fantasy 11 was your second life.
Final Fantasy 11 was my first life. Are you kidding me? I had phone alarms set for Fafnir timers.
That's true. That's true.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah.
true.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's true. I mean, people were quitting their jobs and getting divorced and stuff behind Final Fantasy 11. It was pretty insane. And I mean, but at least you could get married in the game, and like the ceremony was actually a real ceremony. It was pretty awesome.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, the game is pretty much different now, but if I logged into my main, I still have my my wedding dress.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So but it's just crazy, right? Like think about it. In that game, there everybody was on equal terms. Everyone paid a $12 or $14 a month fee. That was it. That was what you paid. And and but everybody was on equal footing, right? Everyone
Yep.
earned what they had. If someone had, something really cool, best believe they earned it. When you were walking through Juno and you saw someone wearing those really cool Dynamis pants, or they had finally gotten the second version of their AF and stuff, they had earned that. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? But like
Yep.
it's becoming more and more of a norm that people can just like buy that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like hours and hours and hours of work versus how long is it going to take you to earn this in real life? But we can complain about that. It seems like where things are going, and I've noticed a trend with how mobile games are. They always start off where everything just feels really good and everything is just really fair and stuff, and then it just eventually turns into this huge pay to win situation.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like microtransactions. Like when this game first came out, and I had never played Eve before, and I started playing on like day 6, and I stumbled across it in my app store. And it was just like spaceships. It's like, oh yeah, I'm flying some spaceships. That sounds great. And I'm getting killed in my venture outside of Nakuguard. That's these random people, and I'm like, oh, this is terrible. And then I met some random people, and we were only friends in text in the game. And one guy was just like, dude, I met these guys, and they're gonna take us in the nullsec. It was Void, and I went to Void and showed me how to fly. They put me in my first stabber, and did my first dead space, and just lulled at the amount of money that I made versus trying to mine some whatever I was mining. I don't even know what the rocks are anymore. And everything was just it was just like group building, it was team building, it was camaraderie, it was let's do these things together, let's build these spaceships out in our spaceports. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the ability now at this point, especially because of the price of Plex and what that equates to in a US dollar, and being able to literally buy a faction battleship, right, with cash rather than having to try to go earn it. And everything inside of the game has turned to the point that if you would like anything and you open up your credit card, you can have it. And that part, I feel like it degrades away at players feeling like they're part of a universe, and more of players feeling that they are simply standing next to people who have money, and that sucks.
Yeah, I do agree that that is the part that kind of sucks. I mean, they could have made it where you can only get this in sleeper events, but there's no way to get it. Like, I can understand maybe they sell some materials for, for boosting them after you earn them. But yeah, the ability to just get in the store and say, "Oh, I want this one," and you drop some money and you have it. It is a little demeaning for the people who want to get out there and grind for it. And at the end of the day, what's the difference, right? You grinded for and you played this game for 2 months to get yours. I worked the night at the club to get mine. you know,
Right.
it is what it is. But I'm also just checking out the Sound of Us because I do like to check out people's comments and stuff. I want to give a shout out to Damon Zell, of course, always really awesome. And by the way, was looking pretty good when he gave his shout out to the Eve universe during the voice ceremony. And he made the statement that he was a hardcore Final Fantasy XI player. When you died, you lose levels. Yeah, you literally had to cap yourself up before you went into hard instances like Dynamis. I mean, I remember some days we
Oh
grinded,
God,
we
de-leveling
grinded
in
Sky.
Dynamis and
Dude,
not being able to keep your equipment on, that was a
we
thing.
grinded Sky. We grinded some of these really hard instances to the point where sometimes, dude, you would just like de-level and you de-level out of your level 45. I'm sorry, 75 stuff. And so now you're running around there and you don't have pants on or something, and you gotta hope that you have some kind of spare pants you're carrying around in your inventory.
Well,
Um,
you had to
and
plan ahead.
yeah,
There were groups that would go out and just farm XP for buffer, so
buff.
that
Yeah,
if you
that's what it was called.
died,
Yeah, yeah,
so
Yep.
if you when you died, you didn't de-level. So
yeah.
Oh yeah. During queuing farms, it was mandated in my LS that every single person had to have a level 72 and a level 74 group of gear to
Just in
bring out
case. Just
because
in
we are
case.
not leaving.
Just
yeah,
in case. just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. But it's kind of a, and I know we're getting off the subject of Eve Echoes to a point. This is a scary trend when you think about like where video games are going these days. We've gone from stuff where it was like hyper competitive. It took you months to earn something, and once you earned it, you had a sense of pride about like having that thing. To
Oh
basically,
yeah, having a Kiri's Soda in Juno,
dude,
you're the best.
when you saw people that had this really cool gear, and I mean, remember, you could you could tell in that game when someone examined you, it would send you like a little message on saying that
Yep,
someone examined you, and
yep.
but how good did it feel when you're like wearing your Tech 2 artifact gear, or you're wearing
Oh, so good.
some drop that was like really hard to get from like Dynamis, or maybe you were, oh my gosh, darn, those pants that all the ninjas wanted. I can't remember what they were because I was a ninja and
Oh, the
I
Byaku's Haidate from Sky.
that. Holy cow, dude! Do you have any idea how much grinding I did to get
Oh, it was so
that?
much.
I
It
mean,
was so
Yeah.
much, but it was
but it
so
was so
worth it.
good. And when you had
So
it,
worth it.
you go and stand and leave your character logged in Jita just so that people
Oh
would
yeah.
examine you to see it. And every time they examine you, you go like, haha, I've earned this. Look at me, I'm
Mhm.
awesome. But
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
it feels like that sense of pride that you'd have when you achieve something really cool in a video game. It's just going down the toilet. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of becoming really sad about video games and where they're going because we're no longer at a point where we have that sense of pride. I mean, don't get me wrong. In EVE Online, it is easier to earn things. The market is significantly better. It's designed around the concept where people can, there's free trade here, and you can make a good living off of the market if you're willing to put the work into it. But you do technically have the option of buying Plex or buying skill injectors or buying something like that. And yes, you technically can open your wallet, swipe a credit card, and get a dreadnought. Now, whether you can pilot that dreadnought efficiently once you have it is a different matter of opinion, which is why people don't really mind, microtransactions and stuff in Eve, right? I mean, yeah, you can buy a dreadnought and it'll blow up just as easy as, as if yeah, it's fine, right? Who cares if someone bought a dreadnought and I mean, I'll blow you up anyways. I don't care.
Yep.
But the microtransactions when it comes to like permanent items like implants and stuff like that, like anything you microtransaction in EVE Online, it's a gamble. That's why people choose to earn it. Because just like you slit your credit card to get that dreadnought, you could pull it out and you could get ganked like just coming out of a station in low sec or no, because there's no such thing as undocking protection, and all it takes is for one person to watch you come out of a station, drop a scram on you, and you're dead, just like that. So you swiped your credit card, you spent like $100, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's pretty much it. Um, so I think that there are ways to do it in EVE Online, but it's a little bit more controlled. But it's just a nasty part of mobile gaming, unfortunately.
Yep.
So I don't really know. I'm literally at a loss. I'm not sure, but at least they are putting content in the game. People can go out, you can earn it if you really want the content. No one is forcing you to buy the cores. So if you want to do it, please get out there, enjoy the content. Just be wary that when you go out to these instances, you are putting a lot of top tier equipment on the line, and if you do it wrong, you are going to lose some very top tier equipment. It's not so bad if you're losing faction battleships, but in the last two, it will be kind of painful if you go in there and you lose a dreadnought, and it's just what it is.
Yeah, I saw a kill mill for a 60 Bill Moros inside of the last one.
Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'll do the Tech 7 ones if I'm running with people like Wax and Tama and other members of my alliance that I trust, but I'm not even gonna bother with the Tech 8 ones because what I could earn from it and the low chance of me getting a gold implant from doing that, it's so low that I mean, it's undervalued compared to the value of my Naglfar. Why would I do this?
Yeah, I think the only big pull is inside of Dormant Realms currently right now. I'm sure eventually that the price will go down. The amount of ISK that you can earn getting compilers from hitting leaderboard slots is outrageous. In the first week of leaderboards, when the first two were out, I made 2.5 billion ISK with the compilers that I made hitting top spots in leaderboards. Week two, I made like 4.5 bill, and
Yeah.
so that is a good argument for, at the very least, as to why to do a higher difficulty. But I mean, I have some friends that just flat out refuse to participate in null set culture. They're done with it. They lived through Pantheon. They lived through GenFed. They're done. They said, I don't want anything to do with it. If you're going to roam, hit me up on Discord. I'll come with you. Otherwise, I'm good. I don't want to ever defend another station in my life. And he's a railgun pilot, right? Well, the thermal circulation is available doing law, and unfortunately, we're trying to figure out a way that it is efficient to clear difficulty 7 to be able to carry someone through it. But it just takes so long, and the risk to like losing fighters is just so high when you're bringing 3 people through. Like, yeah, we can do difficulty 4 all day, just for the experimental implant.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing that a lot of us who have the ability to get it done are focusing our efforts on right now is figuring out how to get 3-man clears.
Yeah.
To be able to spread this love, because like it is hard to do this stuff, and it is hard if you're not somebody who has the ability to fly these things to get it done. But at least what me and my friends are doing is we're taking the responsibility on ourselves to be able to figure out how to get this for other people, so that everyone can participate.
I think that all the corporations and all the major alliances are doing that. We wanted to do some of these runs last week. In fact, I teamed up with Tama, and we were doing some of these runs last week. And unfortunately, the game like glitched out or whatever. Remember when they offered us? I think they offered us some injectors for the implants because Dormant Realms was inaccessible, like it crashed or something. Well, that was the night we were trying to bring our corporation members through there to get them those railgun implants, and the game crashed. It was a mess. So I don't know. I mean, we're gonna run our people through it. Some of them are building ships for like the first 2 of them, and when it comes to the last ones, we're just gonna go in and see if we can handle that with like maybe 2 dreads and a carrier, or something, and just and go with that and see if we can start running people through it to get at least the experimental stuff, and at least stuff that they can use to build up their implants. But it's an unfortunate situation. It's an unfortunate situation, but that's our culture, I guess. And let's be honest, we stick around, we put ourselves through it, right? We're still playing the game, and whether we're doing it for our community or otherwise, we're still playing the game. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and just for anybody who is trying to do 3-man clears, if you want to do difficulty 7, the best thing that we can figure out to even give it a shot, it's going to be 1 dreadnought, 2 carriers on law, and 2 dreadnoughts, 1 carrier on imprisoned. That's about your best chance. You can definitely do a difficulty 4. Difficulty 7 is giving some issues when it comes to imprisonment specifically. It's just so hairy in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was fun. I think that we did that one with 3 dreadnoughts and 1 carrier. It was pretty good. It went very smoothly. At Tech 7, at Tech 8, it was just oof.
Yeah, those battleships, those medices are no joke.
Not even. But I believe that we're all out of time for this week's episode of New Eden FM. And before we go, Music, I want to thank you for coming on to the show and giving your thoughts on it. And before we take off, also, could you explain a little bit about like the coding issue and why why punching in codes works for Android and why there is no system for iPhones? Because I know that you gave us an explanation in the studio area, but just for those of us that are not so good with computer programming, maybe you could explain that one.
Yeah, it's just when you build an Android app, you have the opportunity to basically build it however you want. You can go to the construction store and cut all of the pieces that you want out of your wood, and you can build your building to the exact specifications that you want. When you're building an iPhone app, you are going to a catalog and you're buying something prefab. You have no choice but to use the specific building tools that are provided for you. And one of the things that is not included is the opportunity to, you can't have embedded web access in an iPhone app. That's why, like, when you're on an iPhone and you receive like an advert, if you're playing like a free game, that advert is actually like technically a pop-up web splash page. It's not actually within the game itself. And so you have the opportunity inside of the iPhone app that you can press a button and it takes you to the Eve Echo's website separately inside of a web browser. But having the accessibility to enter a link into a hosted web page within an iPhone app is just not something that they allow, and they claim that it's for security, and it's because of something called operating system compartmentalization, which is that the OS and the application run completely separate, and there is another handler in between the two. On an Android system, on a PC computer, the operating system has direct access to hardware, and an application has direct access via the OS to the hardware.
So it's
if you're running on a Mac computer, you can't do that. A Mac computer basically operates as something called a hypervisor. Those of you who play on emulators, an emulator is something called a hypervisor, where it's a hosted thing inside of an operating system environment.
So basically, what you're saying is that all the iOS devices pretty much work using an interpreter to kind of like go
Basically.
between those. Okay, yeah. I'm definitely no coding master, and there are lots of principles that I don't understand. But I had my first taste of like studying computer programming last term. Unfortunately, I had to drop the class because of how much work it was on top of what the other things I have to do. And guess what? I get to see that exact same class in a month from now. So
Ooh, good luck.
yeah, good luck indeed. That class is hell. But I think that that's it for this week's episode of New Eden FM. And I think next week I'm going to work with Latara, hopefully drag these FCs in here, because I know that I wasn't going to get it today due to the fact that Meliodas was here for a little while, and I know why he is not here and why he's busy. I saw that, as you could tell, Dragon Viper dropped in, say hi, and now she is gone. She has a CT as well. There's a lot of stuff going down. And of course, when things are going down, it's really hard to get FCs anywhere but Grid. Especially nowadays. I mean, there's so little content, to be honest with you. And that's part of the reason why we're doing the things that we're doing. But we'll have more information on that for you on next week. For now, love, hugs, and kisses. Boop and local, and we will see you on next week. Yeah.
It's never over. Hey, hey, it's never over. It's never over.